I'm your host, Stephen Vanover, here on the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. This is the Roundtable, then the final segment that we're doing on breaking down the NFL draft by division. This is the AFC South, and we're going to send it around the Roundtable, and we're going to go backwards order this time, just to mess with my man Joshua Griffith, and because you're doing the ever popular Jacksonville Jaguars, yeah?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, what do you say? Did they have a great draft? Are they on the bounce back after they were so close? Was it 2 short seasons ago? Or is it time for a new owner?
Well, three long seasons ago.
3 long
for the
seasons,
Jacksonville
okay.
Jaguars after those 2 seasons. And after the failed Foles experience, now we have the Gardner Minshew experience full on, and we get Minshew mania for, I don't know, until they bench him and put in somebody else. Like the guy they drafted this year. So they had a ton of picks this year. The Jaguars did. They had 12 picks in the draft, and they went defense heavy. So they went off first with their first overall pick, number 9, CJ Henderson, 9th overall. Sorry, cornerback out of Florida, 6'1", 186. This guy is a shutdown corner. I mean, he's not a big play corner. He's not going to get your massive picks all the time. You didn't get him in college, but the guy is a lockdown corner. He's good. Some would say he's probably one of the top corner in the draft. I know Nate was saying that, I don't know, a couple days ago when we had a discussion about Acunda. So, I mean, I love that pick. Number 20. Oh, sorry, Van, go ahead. You want to talk about CJ Henderson?
Well, yeah, because how can you talk about CJ Henderson and not talk about somebody that's with the Rams right now?
Who's that?
I mean, excuse me, not the Rams.
You got to wait, man. You're getting ahead of yourself. You're terrible.
But I mean, they're linked because wasn't this just a makeup for that? And couldn't CJ Henderson have been taken a little bit later?
I mean, maybe a little bit later, but you saw what.
I mean, he's definitely a talented guy.
We just saw what the Falcons did and moved up to take AJ Terrell. So, I mean, you're going to tell me if CJ Henderson's there at that pick, they're not taking him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but all right. You're talking Jalen Ramsey versus CJ Henderson is really what you're talking about. So he's got that albatross around his neck. Is he mentally tough enough? Can he handle that?
Yeah, well, he's going to be a lot cheaper, first and foremost.
Oh, yeah,
I guess we'll see if he can. I mean, he's not going to be Jalen Ramsey level. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to come out here and say he's going to be Jalen Ramsey type corner, but he's going to be solid, and especially on the defense that they drafted, because they don't have anything left after last year. So yeah, again, they went with their second pick, 20th overall. This is the one from the Rams they got for Jalen Ramsey. So at least I get to talk a little bit of Rams on this draft shows, right? Oh. So they went Clavion Chase and linebacker at LSU. This guy's a beast. He's going to be started on defense for them right away. And that was in the second round. I really love this pick. A wide receiver, Laviska Shenault, out of Colorado. The guy's a playmaker. He scored touchdowns every way possible. He scored touchdowns receiving. He scored touchdowns rushing. It's 7 TDs on the ground in his final 2 years at Colorado. He's going to be a dynamic playmaker for them. Then they went back to defensive with Devon Hamilton from D-tackle out of Ohio State. He's a big boy, gives you a good push up front. Really like that pick. A little bit of a stretch with their next pick, 4th round, Ben Barch, an O-tackle out of St. John's University, Minnesota. A lot of accolades in his league there, but I mean, he's not competing with the top players. And also he was a tight end for his first 2 years in university, and then he moved to a tackle. There's a lot of talk about his good foot speed because of that. And he also did hurdles and other stuff, a lot of track stuff in university. So there's a lot of positive potential out of it, but it's definitely a pick that it's going to need to get groomed. So I thought it was a bit of a stretch there in the 4th round at 116th. Then they went with Josiah Scott, cornerback out of Michigan State. I like this pick again on defense. Then Shaquille Quarterman, another good one on defense. Again, defensive theme. Daniel Thomas, safety out of Auburn. Then they went on offense for a couple picks with Colin Johnson, so wide receiver out of Texas, 6'6", 220. He's a big kid. And then drafted a quarterback, Jake Glutton, who I really like. And if Gardner Minshew doesn't perform in, the first little while, I could see him getting thrown right into action. 62.5, 62% in the last couple of years of college. He's an accurate quarterback, doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. So definitely solid backup and gives them options. Then they drafted a tight end, Tyler Davis, out of Georgia Tech. And then with their final pick, Chris Claybrooks. So like I said before, it was huge defensive emphasis with the draft. And they needed to address some things. I thought they could have done a little bit better on O-line addressing that. But overall, I really like their draft grade this year. And I like their picks. And I give them an A. So I don't know how you guys feel on it. I'm going to spin it around to Nate because he usually starts things off with a bang.
Yeah, not bang bro. So just let's get this clear real quick. So I don't know how the hell David Caldwell, the general manager of the Jaguars, keeps his job. The guy's a goddamn T-1000. You remember in Terminator 2 where this guy just wouldn't go away and he keeps reforming back to life somehow and he keeps returning. That's David Caldwell. This guy just won't go away. How he keeps his job is a marvel to me. If he was in Philadelphia, they would have him tied up by his feet and he'd be a massive piñata for everyone else while the kids in the neighborhood collected his teeth. Anyway, I wasn't as excited about CJ Henderson as a lot of people for the reason being he's a 90th percentile athlete. But with that being said, he just didn't have the turnover production I would have liked for a top 10 corner. That's not to say you can't turn it around with NFL coaching. That's the hope, at least. I wasn't as high on CJ Henderson, even though I know a lot of other teams, as you brought up, were high on him and had him as the top-rated cornerback. I thought they got great value with Caleb Von Chasen. A guy with only one real year of production at LSU. It was hurt most of his freshman year. Tore his ACL, had an ankle injury last year. So injuries are the big concern with him, not necessarily his athletic ability. Again, I love Chenault in the second round, a great athlete, different ways to score. They're going to give Gardner Minshew opportunities to score. Also, I love the pick with House. I think he's another penetrator, shall we say, in the middle of that defense. But with that being said, this is David Caldwell. David Caldwell doesn't deserve a job. And with that being said, I do not give him the benefit of the doubt in the least bit. So I'm going to go with the C+ with them, even though I like some of their things. How about you, Tommy boy?
I think looking at, the first round picks, my immediate reaction was this is the Frank Underwood draft. By that, I mean they're doing picks out of spite. Jalen Ramsey, tumultuous relationship. They pick his replacement. I believe in Dukwa, he's demanding a new contract. He wants to be traded. Yeah, we found your replacement in the first round. So it's immediately are they making these moves out of spite? And it's also, too, this is one where they have so much quantity. They like you said, they have 12 picks. Odds are some of them are going to hit. But I really feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars, most teams get a Super Bowl hangover. They got a conference championship game hangover. They were so close to beating New England at New England. One call doesn't go their way. Everything falls apart. You kind of thought, all right, they'll rally the troops and all that. And boy, did it go bad, and did it go bad fast. They're pretty much moving on to their third franchise quarterback in just as many seasons. And this is something, too, I think dysfunctional is a word to describe Jacksonville. And this is one where, the benefit of the doubt, which we've talked about in previous episodes, the Jacksonville Jaguars don't get that for the long term. They might have been able to pick talent, but they haven't been able to sustain that talent going forward. So I give it a B-. Van, how do you feel?
You and I are floating down the same river, my friend. A lot of the same logic here. 12 picks, phenomenal job getting that set up. And, I like you and I agree this was pretty much an FU draft and a Frank Underwood draft, because they had to make up for a lot of decisions / mistakes, whatever you want to call them. When you have really talented players that don't want to play for you, that won't play for you, will not, because of the Coughlin cancer. And it became a really serious situation. And you know what? Once the team has realized it, at a certain point, the owner stepped in, and said, we are going to fix this. It seems like they're making the necessary calls, and it is what you called it, the FU draft, and that's the shame, because instead of bundling some of these picks together to go after something to upgrade an already really talented team, they had to try to replace important cogs in their defensive prowess, which is what got them to where they're going. That's their mechanism. And is CJ Henderson a Ramsey? Like you said, we can't say, but he is a solid talent. It's a good pick. Chason, we were going to be pretty happy if the Cowboys would have got him, right? At a certain point, right, Nate? So, yeah. These are good players, okay? So you can't take that away from them. But the overall draft is disappointing because they are not building on what came before. Instead, they're just trying to get back to respect rather than even deep in the playoffs. So it's a disappointing situation they're in. I have to give knowledge to that. I don't want to make the mistake that I actually think I made in grading the Falcons. Because I was so disappointed in their one pick. I'm so disappointed in their situation, but you can't. I give them a solid B+ just based on, hey, you've got a lot of talent. If you're looking to roll over your team and clear out the locker room and really change what's going on, you did a hell of a job. B+, maybe even an A, but I'm going to call it a B+. Nate, what do you think? I mean, that's where I sit. That's pretty much where you guys, there's two camps here, isn't there? What Tom and I are thinking, and then what Josh and Nate are thinking, right?
Yeah, if you talk about building on something, they drafted in the first round last year Josh Allen, who had a productive rookie season, and then you add Chase on top of that, with the assumption that Ngakoue is not going to be there. I think you could be starting to build a little something. And if House turns into a player, what did we bring up last episode, Ben? It was 3 black men together on white quarterbacks.
That's right. All right. But what if they play the Cowboys? What does that make it?
Well, he's half white, so that.
Okay, all right. Well, they're in a different division, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why are you guys even talking about the goddamn Cowboys? We're not even doing NFC.
Because this is something called America.
Okay.
Can we
in
just
Canada.
get it over with?
Yeah.
Can we just get it over with? CD Lamb. Okay, it's done. Now we can move on. All right. But let's actually move it around the room here now. Tom, bring you up next. This is going to leave Nate bringing up the rear, which, we're going to be used to, right?
That's his favorite position. He demanded it. Came in, said, I want to be in the rear. We're like, all right.
Right.
I'm counting you guys from the rear. So,
That's right.
Well,
there's the whole pitching, catching conversation we'll have later. All right. But right now it's you, Tom. And you have the Colts, and this is a really interesting conversation also, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the Colts were kind of impacted when Andrew Luck decided to retire out of nowhere, almost like an RKO out of nowhere. But the Colts, considering they lost their quarterback and really weren't able to replace him, did okay pretty much in 2019. And they went out and they acquired Phillip Rivers this offseason. So it's kind of sending the signal that the Colts are in a win now mode. So that's something to take into consideration when you look at this draft. So what did the Colts do? They try to make their offense better. They get Michael Pittman at wide receiver, 6'4", 223 pounds. Now, if he makes over 20 receptions, he would already be a solid upgrade because the Indianapolis Colts only had 2 wide receivers who made more than 20 catches in 2019. So I think that's a mess. I kind of like wide receivers from the second round, especially from USC, because I feel like You don't have add that much pressure, and they usually develop and are able to produce. Next up, shortly thereafter, with the second round 9th pick, they go Jonathan Taylor, running back. While Marlon Mack did have a great year, rushed for over 1,000 yards with the Colts, Jonathan Taylor can come in, give him a little spell, and if Mack leaves after 2020, he could step in and become the number 1 running back for the Colts. This is where I think it gets a little scary when they drafted safety Justin Blackmon from Utah. The issue with him, there's 2 issues with him at safety. One, he kind of doesn't have top-end speed, which you kind of anticipate from a safety. If they had top-end speed, they'd probably be a cornerback. The second issue is that he has a tendency to not finish tackles. I think that is something that could be very dangerous for a safety. Because usually what it is, you're the last man, you're the one who makes a 10-yard gain, not a 50-yard play, who makes a 3-yard play, not a 10-yard play. So with that, I think that's kind of one pick that I think is a little interesting. 4th round pick, you know what? They got Phillip Rivers. He's getting pretty old for a quarterback, I should say. And the Colts draft quarterback Jason Easton out of Washington, which I think was a good value pick. They didn't really push up to get a quarterback. They didn't try to go and maybe make a move for Tua or anything like that. And then another pick I like is Danny Pinner from Ball State. He's actually a converted tight end, and he was moved to offensive guard, which kind of shows that he has potential athleticism. And I think that's a pick that can play out down the line. Now, Nate, how do you feel about the Colts draft?
Colts, in my opinion, did more than any other non-playoff team from the year before to make themselves contending, in my opinion. With the addition of Phillip Rivers, a guy who had a lot of turnovers last year, but I could chalk that down to poor protection from the Chargers. Not going to be the case in Indy. Right now, they've built an awesome offensive line. He's going to get the opportunity and the green light to go down the field. And you brought up the fact that they're in win now mode. I completely agree. Michael Pittman Jr. screams a Phillip Rivers type receiver. 6'4", a big guy, can win those jump balls that Phillip Rivers loves to throw down the field. An excellent compliment to T.Y. Hilton. And the pick I liked even more was Jonathan Taylor. I expect him actually to start over Marlon Mack right away. And I think we could be looking at the kind of impact right now to where we're saying he has a 1,400 to 1,500 yard rookie year. I think that highly of Jonathan Taylor. The only knock on him, I'd say, is he had a lot of carries at Wisconsin. Not a big deal. They got him in the second round. They're going to have him for 4 years. I expect him to contribute right away. And you have to go back to the fact that they spent their first round pick trading for DeForest Buckner, the guy who was team MVP of the 49ers in 2019, on the unit that basically, on their best unit that carried them to the Super Bowl, in my opinion, was the best player on their best unit, traded him away. He's going to make an immediate impact. One of the most underrated defenders in the league, I think. I can't say enough about the players I brought up. I think that did enough to get them into the conversation about contention once again. I give them an A. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, I like you said, I mean, how you brought up about the, non-playoff teams, and 2, they were in such a competitive conference. They were in it right till the end, and they realistically could have, swung a couple games and taken that division. And, when you look at it, some of the other teams haven't done as much. I really, really like what they did, bringing in a wide receiver who's going to come in and play and help right away. As Tom said, compliments Ty Hilton really well. So, I like their draft as well. I like the safety from Utah. That Utah defense, it was a good defense this year. So I like the safety from Utah as well. I gave him an A too.
Van, that spells you. You don't be bobbing your head right now. I know what you're thinking about.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm still hanging on with the double penetration from the other show. Okay. You guys touched on a lot of things, and I agree with, about 90% of them. Michael Pittman, it's a great pick. I love what you say, Nate, about him being a Phillip Rivers type wide receiver. I totally agree with that. You're going to see a lot of rainbows. He's going to love it. He's going to love playing for Phillip Rivers. He's going to just see these rainbows coming in, easy to catch, and they're going to have a lot of fun together. I also agree, Nate, your take on Jonathan Taylor. I also believe he's going to get a lot more touches and could very well get the starting nod at some point in the season, if not right away. I like what you say, Josh, about Jacob Eason as well. I think that's a nice pick at that time. But with all of you, Tom, I go back. You brought the cat out of the bag right away with Julian Blackmon, a safety. And, he has tackling issues. I mean, he does a lot of stuff really well, but he has issues tackling. Now, Michael Pittman, Nate, would you be excited about him if he kept dropping the ball? No.
Yeah.
No.
I was trying to do mental gymnastics there to try to, but no.
Yeah, you got to go. Yeah, wait, yeah. No, I can't drop it. I'm trying. It won't go down. It won't go.
Hey, you guys got a question in chat?
It's I just have problems with picks like that. But I mean, it's still, was it 9 picks or something like that? That's really nice. That's a lot of picks. You go down there, you look at these guys. They obviously were following their board, but they also have a plan. I like it. I give them a solid B+. Tom, you got a comment on something?
Well, I think for a grade, I might give it, an A- because I really like the Pittman and Taylor selection. And I think with like a 3rd round pick, you might be able to get a little questionable. But we just had a question coming in from our YouTube viewers. Question is, if the Colts didn't draft Jonathan Taylor, would another team like the Bucs or the Ravens draft Taylor? Nate, how do you feel?
I really don't see it as a fit for Baltimore. Don't get me wrong. If it came down to the 2 prospects of being Jonathan Taylor versus Dobbins, I think they go the direction of Dobbins just because of the scheme fit. That I think that it wouldn't surprise me if they had Dobbins much higher on their board. I just think overall speed is what they're looking for. And so I definitely think he's a 2nd round prospect. I just don't know, possibly a fit with the Bucs.
Yes, 100% with the Bucs. I think he was on the Bucs board. I think he was higher. I think something happened there to where the Bucs kind of reached with their pick at running back. And if they could have got Jonathan Taylor, oh yeah, hands down. I think Bruce would have been all over that.
Well, also the Colts moved up to get Jonathan Taylor, so they were definitely aware someone was in. That was kind of the wheelhouse he was expected to go in. So the Colts were very aware here that they had to move up to get him.
I think that the Rams were actually really high on Jonathan Taylor
as well, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said also, Nate. That's about where Jonathan Taylor should have gone, even though he's more talented than that. But I mean, in today's market, this is where top running backs go, right?
Yeah, that's where they should go, and unless you follow the model of the other teams that draft running backs in the top 10 and then give them big contracts after that. But that's another story.
That's another story. Absolutely. All right. Let's keep working around the board then. Next up are the Texans, and we're going to actually hold on. Nate, you're going to go last because we're going to end it with a bang. I'm going to actually do the Texans next, man. And that is a pretty easy one to do. They only had like, 5 or 6? Yeah, 6 picks. Excuse me, 5 picks. And you look at what they did, and when you're going to grade their draft, it's all a matter of, do I consider the offseason trades of Hopkins, but they got Johnson back. No, you don't consider them, because if you consider trading away the best wide receiver in the NFL and only getting what they got for it, it's automatically a horrible draft. So you don't consider it. So I'm not even going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is who they got with the draft picks they got. And they got a defensive lineman, Ross Blaylock, in the 2nd round. Of course, they didn't have a 1st round pick. He's 6'3", 190-pound guy. He's a 300-pounder. Got nice 32 and 3/8 inch arms, 9 and 3/4 inch hands. Has a 4.9 40-yard dash. So, he's got some long speed. An Achilles injury In between his freshman and sophomore year, he ended up missing his entire sophomore season. He had a very promising freshman year, but even though he missed that season, he came back 40 pounds lighter. Really worked hard, and man, did it show. He had a promising freshman year, but his junior year, he just blew up. I mean, he got all first team, all Big 12 honors. He's rough. He needs work with technique, but he's got the quickness to be a terror in what? A penetrating gap scheme. And we know what that means, right, Nate? Okay. and guess what the Texans run? A penetrating gap scheme, where now with him on, they have multiple penetration aspects that they can bring on game day. So, we could be talking a DP hashtag right here. Next, they come back in the next round, and then they go edge Jonathan Greenard, 6'3", 263 pounds, 34 and 7/8 inch arms. He's got a huge wingspan. He can bend. He's got nice hands, has a 4.8 40-yard dash. He can do it all. Had 22 reps, even with those long arms at 225 pounds. He's a classic physical specimen from the edge. He delivers. He's got the size and the speed and the quickness, and he knows how to finish. He's got two stats that you want to think about with this guy, and that's tackles for loss and sacks. That's what he brings. He's a 3-down defender. He can also he can tackle. Okay, he's going to get better each season. It's a solid pick. Now, offensive tackle Charlie Heck. Wow, 6'8". That's a bit of a problem, right? 34 and 1/8 inch arms is great. 10 and a quarter inch hands. He gets those mitts on you. It is a problem for you. Even with those long ass arms, he's got 21 reps at 225, which is excellent, but he still needs to work on that core strength. He's from a solid football family, the Heck family. I mean, his father, cousins, all sorts of kids have played. He's much more fluid than you would think at 6'8". He kind of blows your mind in that regard. He does need to improve his core strength. He will get pushed. He has a little problem with his anchor occasionally because it's 6'8", and he has problems with his pad height, of course. But it's still a solid pick, Then they come back. They got cornerback John Reed, 5'10", 187 pounds, 30 and 1/8 inch arms, which is very nice. 20 reps at 225. He returned from a nasty knee injury to earn honorable All Big Ten mentions in 2018 and in 2019. He forecasts as a press nickel guy. He should excel at that in the NFL. He needs coaching. He's going to need to prove that he can hold up against the run because of his size, but it's still, a nice pick. Then they end up with wide receiver Isaiah Coulter, 6'2", 198 pounds, 31 and 3/4 inch arms. He runs a 4.5 40-yard dash, a 36-inch vertical. He's an explosive guy where you can check all of the boxes for being a prototypical NFL wide receiver. This was an uber deep draft at wide receiver. He was available there, and they picked him. He is also uber raw. He needs coaching, but that's a good thing because now he's going to be getting it at the NFL level. This is a really nice pick. Overall, I give them a B- for their draft. When you don't have a first-round pick, it's hard to get an A the way that I see it. But I really like their picks. I like what they did. I give them a solid B-. Let's work it around. And I like this again. It's now Nate's turn. We're going to end it with a bang. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like the value with Blacklock in the second round. I think they stuck to their board right there, and they made a solid selection. Listen, I've given Bill O'Brien enough shit for the wheeling and dealing and squealing he's done all off season. With that being said, with the roster that they've developed, particularly on the offensive side of the football, it's really going to either be boom or bust, in my opinion, because they've acquired a lot of talent that has injury problems, but they can produce when healthy. So really, I think I give him a solid B minus. Like you, Van, we agree for once. Chocolate blue.
Chocolate blue. Joshua, you cannot pick B minus. That's it. No.
Yeah, I know. I'm just sorry. I was taking note of the day, May 2nd, the time that Van and Nate agreed. Yeah, I like their first two defensive picks. I mean, helps the line. You know, on a team that already has JJ Watt, you know, that's helping things out there. I don't really know. I mean, Van, do you think that they're going to move Charlie Heck inside with him being so tall?
No. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, he's got the attributes to play inside. No, he doesn't. He's 6 foot freaking 8. He does not have the attributes to play inside. I mean, and he has problems with anchor. I mean, not big problems. I mean, he didn't live on skates or anything, but occasionally you could, you know, bull rush him and give him some trouble because of his pad level. You know, he has to really concentrate to keep that pad level down. But now he is much more flexible than you would think. He's flexible and fluid. He's a talent. I would leave him outside. Then again, I'm not an all-pro offensive lineman coach, so you know. Okay,
well, yeah. I mean, going with their first two picks, and I mean, just not that they didn't have the first round pick. Yeah, I'll give him a C plus. Go a little bit lower than you guys on that one.
Yeah, you looking B minus, weren't you, Joshua?
Yeah, he was thinking it. He was thinking it, man. You know. All right. So Tom, it's up to you to bring it home. Are you going to actually agree with us?
You know what? I think this is you got to take a lot into consideration. You have to take the Hopkins trade, and you know the whole benefit of the doubt.
If you do that, they get an F.
Yeah. Well, okay. with the benefit of the doubt. The Houston Texans don't have that yet. They didn't have a first round pick. And you got to think if you trade your best wide receiver, you think you'd try to grab a wide receiver pretty quick, right? Maybe second or even third round. They selected wide receiver in the 5th round. Wide receiver from Rhode Island, Isaiah Coulter. So that's kind of something. It's showing you a sign where it's like, you know what? We don't care. That guy wasn't that valuable. Most people thought he was the best at his position in the league. You have a young quarterback in Deshaun Watson.
How does he feel about this draft? How does Deshaun Watson feel about it?
If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm not happy with the Texans front office.
No.
You traded away my best target. You try to address defense.
You traded away my touchdowns, man.
Yeah. Now, what are you doing to help me out? You know, it's something where it's, we're pretty close to.
They got him a used to be great running back in David Johnson.
Yeah.
But as Nate pointed out, it's boom or bust. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah. So I'd probably give it a C plus. I'm more along the lines of Josh. Because I just think with it too.
Oh no!
One of the
now things, you encourage Joshua. What'd you do that for?
Hey, it's better than encouraging Nate.
Hey, you come to the dark side. To the dark side.
That's all right. I'm a member of the evil empire. But with it too, the Houston Texans are one of those like head scratching teams where they have so much talent, they just cannot put it together. So that's something that
they ship it away. They ship it. They send all pro offensive linemen away. They send and they send the best wide, not just good play guys, not just all pro guys, but the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Maybe what they're trying to do, they're trying a new strategy where they rebuild without winning a championship.
Well, here's the thing. I think their overall goal, at least on the offensive side of the field, was to get more team speed. They gave away. We've all criticized the DeAndre Hopkins. In his replacement, they did get Brandon Cooks, a guy with a lot more speed on the outside. I'm not comparing the two because I thought that was an even worse trade because Cooks has concussion issues. But with that being said, if those guys remain healthy, it could have a huge boom. Will Fuller on the other side, a lot of speed on the outside.
I'm sorry, I was coughing. You were saying if grandma had balls, what? I heard a lot of ifs. It's just a
that's
lot
one
of
thing.
ifs.
I mean, if you're going, but again, as Tom was saying, you can't give them the benefit of the doubt. So, I mean, I could see a direction. It's just retarded.
Oh, okay. All right. Boy, that's a long way around the barn to get there.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. All right. But hey, you're on a roll. Don't stop. Don't stop with them. Move on to the Tennessee Titans, who, man, they gave it all. What for? Got a lot of Patriots haters excited at the end of last year with a really good victory. And what did they do in the offseason to move forward? And what did they do in the draft?
Well, it's interesting. It's thinking back on it, it's really hard to remember the fact that they were one game away from the Super Bowl. The Tennessee Titans were one game away from the Super Bowl. And the funny thing is, if you look at, since John Robinson, the GM, has taken over, they're either hit or miss in the first round. Particularly when you get guys like Corey Davis the other day, they announced that they're not going to renew him for his 5th-year deal. You got a Dory Jackson, a guy who hasn't been worth a top 20 pick the way he was. They actually are giving him his 5th-year extension. And then they let Jack Conklin, the right tackle, go and walk to football hell, a.k.a. Cleveland, this offseason. So, and that brings us to the first pick of the draft that they had, and that's Isaiah Wilson. To me, that was a massive reach, in my opinion. I think he could have easily been drafted a round and a half later, particularly when you look at Josh Jones, his fall. A guy who was considered to be a first-round prospect, drafted in the 3rd round eventually by Arizona. I think you could have seen that kind of fall from Isaiah Wilson as well. I definitely think they're trying to replace Jack Conklin with that pick. And anytime a team goes into replacement mode, the Frank Underwood mode, I just don't give them a high grade. Dan, what? And now I can't hear you.
I thought John Gruden was handling that pick. Drafting an offensive tackle that really shouldn't be, drafted there. I thought it was an awesome pick. If I'm Isaiah Wilson, or better yet, his agent, I'm just going, oh my gosh, I just made how much money?
Right. No shit. And then you go to the 2nd round, which is funny because the 1st round seemed like a reach. And over the course of the years, John Robinson's had more success in the 2nd round. If you look at Harold Landry from 2018, fell right into their lap at pick 41. A year ago, they found A.J. Brown in the 2nd round, contributed immediately in the 2nd round. And then it looked like they stuck to their board with Christian Fulton, a guy who had the maybe 1st round, 2nd round grade on him. They fell right to the end of the 2nd round on great value in the 2nd round. Love the pick. Another 2nd round pick that might contribute right away for him. And then they go with Darrington Evans in the 3rd round, which is interesting because what they did not extend Derrick Henry, which I think is a good thing. They signed him to the 1-year franchise contract. Okay. But this guy could not be further than Derrick Henry. This guy is a definite change of pace back, a lot of production in college, but I just don't see him being the eventual replacement for Henry, which is okay. I could see him next year being a nice compliment to him. Not a lot of long-term vision for it.
He's change of pace, right?
Yeah, change of pace. I don't see him being the workhorse at a year from now if they decide to move on from Henry. And then they go Laurel Murchison, a guy I think is a little bit undersized for the position. They're probably going to start him out as a 5 technique. And if you remember, they got Jeffrey Simmons the year before, who was recovering from a torn ACL. A guy who's they're expecting to contribute next season. So I don't see him really contributing. I could see him possibly coming in the fold, maybe getting some reps, but I don't think he's quite there yet. He had a lot of production in a big conference at North Carolina State. I just think he's a little undersized, maybe a prospect 3 years from now, they hope. But at the end of it, I really am not excited about their first pick. I give it a C+. They're really boom or bust. I think their saving grace here is possibly Fulton. Dan, I know I saw you nodding and doing a bunch of weird shit with your head. Why don't you pipe in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was listening to a game. Oh,
I don't blame
We weren't supposed to listen to anything he was saying, were we?
Oh yeah,
I just shove it down your throat.
I was waiting for my little red light to light up that says it's my turn. That was all. I'm sorry. Are you done, Nate? Okay. I agree with him. Yeah, I'm supposed to do that. Okay. No, Nate, I think you're on. We were both shocked at Isaiah Wilson being picked there. That being said, I like him. I think he's a good prospect. Wow, okay. He got lucky, man. Roll with it. And then also in the second round, Christian Fulton, love that pick. Value. And it's not only a value pick, the kid can really play. Just way to go. Evans, the running back, just like you said, you nailed it. Beyond that, what they did and how they took their shots. Round 5, round 7. Man, I like that all the way around. I gave them a B-.
Well, it's funny because we mentioned Fulton. He got most of the work, I should say, or most of the targets his direction, because they had LSU had an absolute phenom
and held up
freshman at Stingley. So teams stayed away from Stingley, and they went right at Fulton. So he's used to being targeted.
So, and as a rookie, that's what's going to happen. He's going to be targeted, all the way. So, Josh, what do you think about this, man? Is Nate onto something, or is come on, was this an awesome draft?
I'm a little bit higher than you guys on this one. I don't think Isaiah Wilson was a stretch, but if that's the guy the offensive tackle.
Okay, hold it. Nate, you wrote down Josh was high. Higher, I might add. That's even more. Okay, all right.
I thought Josh was hot for a second. I was like, Van.
I wouldn't put it past any of you guys with some of the conversations. Yeah.
All right, but no, we know you weren't going to agree with us. So go ahead.
No, I didn't mind no tackle, Isaiah Wilson there, and I might even be higher on Christian Fulton than you guys are. I love that pick and super value at 61st. Anyone who's coming from the Ed Ogeron, LSU. He's a champion, knows how to play, and like you guys said, he's been the target. He has the guy who's been getting the passes thrown at him. I think he should be, he should be a good pick for them. And some of the other guys, I don't mind the running back. Third down back, scat back, a little bit of a difference. I gave him a B.
Tommy boy, I know you're on mute, but you got something to say.
I think, with this draft, I feel like the Titans, they had their magical run in 2019, and the magic's going to run out in 2020. And I think they're going to fall back to the pack. They're trying to ride Derrick Henry as far as he can take him. And, they're just beating him down. As we get another question coming in. So I'll ask this question. Thank you, viewer, for giving us a question. Are you guys surprised Tennessee didn't draft more weapons for Tannehill? He signed a massive contract, and all Tannehill really did was give the ball to Henry. Van, how do you feel about that?
I think it's an interesting way to pose the question. That's very astute. It's another way of asking, like, what's Henry, chopped liver? So basically you're saying the guy over here at QB is the reason that everything was going good, and I was doing what? But on the other hand, they give Henry a guaranteed contract here for 1 year that is a ton of money. And Tannehill, is he worth it going forward? You know what? I think he is. I think he's going to be that good. I think before it, he hadn't put it together situation. What do you think, Nate?
Well, it's interesting. If you look at Derrick Henry's stats before Tannehill was playing, if you remember, he was averaging 3.5 yards a carry under Marcus Mariota. It wasn't until Ryan Tannehill got into the games and the team started respecting their down the field throwing that Derrick Henry really turned it on. Interesting. I think they handled it beautifully. I think they, instead of extending Henry, which I thought would have been a major mistake, because I just don't think the value at running back is that long lasting. On top of that, I think Tannehill took a team deal for him, because I don't think for a second had Tannehill tested the free agency market. I think instead of paying 28, 29 million a year. I think Tannehill could have gotten close to 35 million a year from a team in desperate need of a quarterback situation. So
in a free agent market, I could see that happening. Absolutely.
yeah. So I think a lot of people have it mixed up that Henry made Tannehill, but instead Tannehill really extended the value from Derrick Henry.
Well, they complemented each other. Tannehill definitely enjoyed what Henry was able to happen there. The whole offense complemented each other. However, I think Tannehill going forward is that good. And, what you get paid as a quarterback on your second contract or on any contract really depends not on how good you are. It depends on how lucky you are. Are you the guy that has the leverage in that market? And Tannehill had good leverage, and he didn't overuse it, but he signed a nice contract based on his production to that point. But yeah, I think he was worth it. So what about you, Tom or Josh?
I'll actually answer the question. Yes, I was very surprised that they didn't draft more weapons for Tannehill. I mean, you didn't really need to necessarily draft a running back this year. You have Henry locked up. I would have liked to see that third round pick go to a wide receiver or a tight end even that could have provided a little bit more play action options for Tennessee going forward. So I was, to the viewer's question, I was a little bit surprised that they didn't take a wide receiver in the third round or the fifth round with their picks.
I actually would have taken wide receiver in the first round because to me, the value was there. I mean, if you look at what San Francisco jumped up to get Ayuk, I think they could have easily ended up with a Denzel Mims or Chenault in that situation. And I think the value would have fit there. So
Chenault would have been an amazing pick for Tennessee. And that would have been a great fit too, just with the ability to, have him also run out of the backfield and catch the pass.
Whether he works out or not, they did need offensive tackle, all right, the offensive line. So I don't have a problem with them going there. And as Connor Livesey pointed out, there is going to be solid UDFA wide receiver talent available. And I'm not exactly sure who they signed, but I mean, these are guys that in a normal year would have gone in the third, fourth, fifth round, right in there. I mean, these guys are just UDFA now. I mean, the wide receiver talent is really, really deep this year. So hopefully they address it there. I apologize. I don't know about that. If somebody could look that up, what UDFA signings they had. But hey, thanks a lot for the question and the comment. Thanks for catching that, Tom. And Tom, how do you break down as the last guy, breaking down the last team on the last show of the Roundtable Division Draft breakdown?
I give it a C+. That there was nothing really that kind of like wowed me, to say the least. And I think the Titans championship window I think might have been last year, because they're making their offense one-dimensional, and you just need that one team to figure out how to beat you, and everyone else will copy you. Well, Derrick Henry has had a monster season last year, a monster postseason. Those carries catch up with you. And you kind of got to wonder, all right, how much is left? I think a running back maybe a little bit earlier. I do think the running back the Titans drafted is a nice compliment. We'll see how they utilize them. But I think they need to become multidimensional, because I think that will make Derrick Henry more valuable in the postseason too.
Okay,
yeah,
so
give him a break. And I think that's why they went with that third round, Darrington Evans, trying to cut down on his carries and his snaps in the game, just so that he would be more available later.
Yeah, and also it's interesting going back to the user's comment. John Robinson's a New England guy. I mean, he came from the New England front office, and so he's kind of more of a meat and potatoes kind of a guy to begin with. He's not a guy who's going to invest,
right?
Even though he invested premium picks at the position before, maybe it made him a little bit skittish.
All right. Well, look, the Colts barely beat out the Jags for the best draft in the division. And that's it. That's all we have for now. For everybody listening, thanks so much for being here. Be sure and hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that little bell, that notify, whichever social media platform that you've got that you're watching us on. Be sure and amplify that. Send it around the room. We really appreciate that. And as we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank Joshua Griffith. You can find him on Twitter at Joshua Griffith 0. Right there, look under his finger. I'm not going to, but you can. All right, and see it. Thank you so much for being here, Joshua.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. It was a lot of fun breaking down the NFL draft.
All right, and we're not even going to talk about Tom at this point, okay? Tom
I'll jump in
McAllister
anyway.
on
Right
Twitter.
there. Find me on Twitter at defense_comp, at DFENDS_comp.
That's it. And now it's time for Nate to give the finger.
Yeah. You can follow me at No Remorse Sports. Letter of the day is N.
That's it. And that's actually how he talks all the time. So please don't take it personal. Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it a lot. We do. You're going to find us all. We're going to be doing a show twice a week. I'm not exactly sure which days that's going to go broadcast, so be sure and check. Hit that notify. That way you'll be notified when we go live. We're going to keep the round table going, breaking down other sporting events, breaking down some of our favorite events, getting ready for the slow defrigeration, if you'll call it, of the COVID-19 sporting experience. So when next time, listen like you play with intensity.